everyone, my name is Jackie Spinnell. I'm a sophomore at the University of Vermont, and we are here today on April 3rd, 2025, on the corner of Archibald and Hyde Street in front of the former Ohavi Zedek Shul, which is now a different shul, which we'll get into this episode. But today I am here in the Old North End, what used to be referred to as Old Jerusalem or Mini Jerusalem, Little Jerusalem, or the Jewish Quarter. And we're going to kind of dive into what was the Jewish community like, why was the Jewish community here, and in what ways were they involved in terms of where were their synagogues, what were their synagogues like, and where are those synagogues now. Burlington experienced a large influx of Russian, German, and Polish Jews who formed a very tight-knit community in the Old North End, all living north of North Street from about 1880 to 1910 until various Jews moved closer to Loomis Street. This temple was the first Jewish congregation formed in Burlington, specifically by German Jews, in 1885. The building was purchased as a shed from an old stone cutter who made tombstones for a nearby cemetery. It opened in 1885 and by 1902 was very large and looks how it does today. It was remodeled again in 1927. In 1952, the congregation of Ohavi Zedek built their new synagogue at its current location on North Prospect Street. This temple followed halachic laws of conservative Judaism, and because of that, 35 Orthodox Jews chose to separate from the congregation at this time and form a new congregation of Ahavath Gerim, which is not connected to the old congregation of the same name. This congregation of Ahavath Gerim continues to practice today in this building. At 105 Hyde Street sits Burlington's second synagogue, Chai Adam, which translates to Life of Man. This synagogue came into existence in 1889 as a result of a feud over the issues of marriage and Sabbath customs. Chai Adam was therefore started by members of Ohavi Zedek Temple on July 10, 1889, also part of a conservative movement of Judaism. During the 1930s, the Great Depression brought much financial stress to the European Jewish community in Burlington. Because of that, there was much conversation about whether the temples Ohavi Zedek and Chai Adam should combine. In November of 1939, Chai Adam ended up joining Ohavi Zedek. This building sat vacant until the Vermont Mercantile Company altered it for use for a wholesale dry goods business. Its new owners remodeled it into its current 7-unit apartment house during the summer of 1986. There was a lost mural that was found within the walls and was put into the new synagogue in Burlington. The Ahavath Gerim Synagogue was formed on September 16, 1906, by Russian Jews who primarily entered the country in a wave of immigration in 1905. These Jews felt inferior to the German and Polish Jews who had already come to the United States 2 decades prior and were more quote-unquote Americanized. Ahavath Gerim translates to love of strangers, and it was incorporated under Vermont law in 1908. This building was originally a blacksmith shop, and it is situated on the east side of Bright Street, near Archibald. The conservative congregation of Ahavath Gerim continued meeting here until the synagogue eventually merged with Ohavi Zedek in 1935 as part of the financial effects of the Great Depression. We're here now in front of the former congregation of Ahavath Gerim, which merged with Ohavi Zedek, like we formerly talked about. And this building was sadly affected by a fire several years ago, and it is currently no longer in use. Thank you, everyone, for joining us along on our adventure of the Old Jerusalem section of the Old North End and learning about the Jewish community that thrived here. I'd like to thank the Chittenden County Historical Society for their Historical Guide to Burlington Neighborhoods, Volume 1. Highly recommend all 3 volumes. And thank you everyone again for joining us, and I hope to see you again soon.